So again, after a bit of a hiatus, I'm back. Um, Figured I should start doing this again. It was suggested to me by somebody I care about, and to get the special stuff out of the way. These are the opinions of Tech Minion, nobody else. I will provide links or anything else if asked to what I'm talking about. It may get vulgar. In fact, it probably will because I get it to be an angry person. And these are not the same opinions of Tech Minion, who is with Broken the Air. Those are two separate opinions. One is for dealing with travel, and this is very specifically going on political reasoning and, again, my personal opinion. I will provide my real name if it is really required. We'll get to that part eventually. But for right now, let's kick it off with starting from news that has happened around this time. We will go from immigration, Gavin Newsom, Oakland specifically, where we are now, considering before we were in Cleveland, now we are in Oakland, so I have various opinions about that. I will have opinions about the military, being a military veteran. I will have firearm opinions because I'm a firearm owner. So all of that, and you can feel free to ask your questions if you come on and do live chat, and I will also try and answer any of the questions that are asked later on. So, to start off with, for those of you who are apparently living under a rock, Charlie Kirk is dead. He was shot in the neck in Utah. We don't know that many details. I can give guesses, but I'm not going to do that. He's dead. He was shot in the neck. So, everybody who's going to give the whole personal opinion about the fact of, oh, he was a horrible person, that's fine. That's your opinion. I'll leave that alone because, honestly, I think he was a very flawed man who had opinions that were so personally biased that he didn't do any research. For instance, the fact that he got shot, supposedly, and this I have checked a couple sources on, he was shot right after talking about actually questions on guns, on shootings. He was shot right after that, apparently answering something about gangs. And before that, talking about, oh, how many trans mass shooters are there? Last time I checked, there weren't really that many. I think some people say 2. I will conservatively say 5 just to get that nice round number because I know that a lot of people like nice round numbers. Again, I'm being pointed out that it was 2, but again, I'm going to say 5 because we don't know all the actual numbers, just because to also keep some of you quiet. Now then, what could have been stopped? No, it really couldn't have. Judging by the information that was given, the person shot from a couple buildings over, and all that was there was supposedly Charlie Kirk's security team. Yes, a good guy would have stopped the bad guy. Yeah, that's totally how it works. Totally. No, it does not. Here's the reason I say that. If we look across the attempted assassinations across all the figures, because yes, I will give it this. It was a political assassination. He had political opinions. He was at a political rally. That means political assassination. Now then, does that also mean that by the same definition, anybody could have stopped it, as I was just saying before? No. We look across the following things. Number 1, we take a look at the assassination of JFK. Could have been stopped? No, not really. Unless you had pre-existing data, which hindsight is 2020. Martin Luther King Jr. Political? Yes. Could it have been stopped? Probably not. Again, sniping style. Ronald Reagan. Could have been stopped. Probably not. Lee Harvey Oswald assassination. Yes, I'm going out of order. I know. Again, technically political, just like all the others. Could it have been stopped? No, you kind of pulled out a pistol and shot people. it's what happens. The attempted assassination of Donald Trump, could it have been stopped? No. Let's even go a little bit out of political. The Luigi assassination of the healthcare CEO, could that have been stopped? No. Number one, reaction time. Number two, the fact that it was from close range. It doesn't matter unless you have any level of quick reaction. That is certifiable fact. I will leave it to other people. Yes, I know many other people. I'm not really going to name drop that many because knowing something with as much other things that we had, other people will break it down. Again, not saying good, not saying bad at this moment, but here's the thing. I don't think, in fact, we know that Charlie would not have weeped for anybody else, and he would have continued to talk about how the Second Amendment should not be infringed. So, he's dead, killed by somebody who probably got their gun legally, number one, went through all the steps. Would he potentially have been saved by more common sense gun regulations? Probably. But when you foster that much hate, as he did, karma comes around. Speaking of hate, that's probably all we can cover on Charlie Kirk for now. But speaking of hate, ICE. Oh, yes, ICE. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So we're going to sit here and get all of the workers out and say, oh, yes, we're not going to have any of the prices go up. We're not going to tear apart families, right? You're kind of doing a pretty good job of that. You're doing a pretty good job of tearing families apart. And last time I checked, oh, yes, prices are going up. Not just in California, not just in Ohio, but kind of all across. And on top of that, it is ruining our tourism, which is something last time I checked, especially during the summer, that America kind of banks on. Not just places like, oh, I don't know, Nevada, Disneyland, Disney World. I mean, you do kind of have a lot of things that people go, hey, it's a smart thing to do. But what you gonna do? So it's something that people kind of need to understand that, hey, it's kind of a bad thing. So to not have this stuff, but hey. And when we deal with a lot of those other things and go, maybe we should probably have thought about this through, like, let's talk about tariffs. Yeah, other people have kind of already covered this, but yeah. Tariffs have kind of screwed everything up. Just say, when you charge extra for things, people tend to get a bit pissed off when stuff costs more. Yeah. I have my friendly historian person here to corroborate evidence, but she's right. People don't really understand how stuff works because, apparently math is hard. But yes. What else is there? Oh. Let's see. Let's talk about somebody else who's being a gigantic troll like everybody is trolling ICE. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. Yeah. Who now, since we're living in the city of Oakland, in California, our governor. Now, a lot of people are getting pissed off and have been pissed off at what he's doing. Now, let me remind you, if we do a side-by-side comparison, there is not much of a difference between the crap Trump has said and what Newsom is saying. In fact, I could guarantee you 90% of the time, you could probably find an exact comment, put it there, and go, hey, it's the same. But people are going to get freaked out and angry about it, even though, oh yes, I am past the 10-minute mark, so I can say it. Even though certain people have said, fuck your feelings. That kind of doesn't work very well when you say, fuck your feelings.
Whereas Ben Shapiro, the next biggest right-wing voice out there, says, facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah. Again, but we'll actually get into the facts don't care about your feelings in a few minutes because, yeah, we got another person to cover. I know we're bouncing topic to topic, but kind of a lot of stuff happened since our last run. So, facts don't care about your feelings. Going back to federal for a second. RFK Jr., our wonderful person in charge of health and human services. All right, Robert, for a second here, I'm going to speak directly to you. Dude. Yep. Everybody say hi. Hi to the person. Yes. Anyway, so when we get to RFK, autism does not work the way you think it does. Autism is not created the way you think it does. Now, I'm going to do full disclosure right here. I've had the COVID vaccine. I've had COVID. I've had a stroke. I've had plenty of problems. Now then, one could technically say, oh, yes, because of what you had, because I'm just going to say this. Feel free to check my medical records. I don't care. I'm an open book. It doesn't work the way you think it does, Robert. It does not. I mean, we could sit there and talk about how you sound like a dirt bike on a cold start, but hey. Oh, yes, I said I wasn't going to insult. Never mind. But anyway, when we deal with all of that, you're kind of putting unproven pseudoscience on the way things are caught, on the way autism is caused. Then that's an insult to anybody who has autism or anything else. You kind of are being a jackass. Well, yeah, he wants to get rid of everybody who he doesn't think is worthy of the master race of Americans. But we'll get into that whole discussion in a second. Yeah. Well, again, last time I checked, certain members of his family fought against that, but that's beside the point. Anyway, so between Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Mehmet Oz, and all those wonderful... No, we'll get to the judicial system in a second. We're just dealing with the medical yahoos for the moment. That's one thing. So, the medical yahoos are making decisions that make no sense whatsoever. And I swear their opinions are idiotic. But yes, continuing on with federal justice system. Oh dear God, the corruption. I kind of wish that Clarence Thomas had taken John Oliver's offering, but then again, then we'd probably have John Oliver be completely poor forever. So, but yes, a lot of the Supreme Court choices are just absolutely nuts. But that's, again, beside the point. Again, more details, we'll get to it probably in future episodes. Going locally for a second, because I could say plenty of stuff about the state. Oh yes, taxes are high. Actually, you know what? Let's transition to that. Sorry. Brain, go bouncy. When we get to the state, and everybody's like, why do you have to pay so many taxes? Why can't you get a house? Well, first off, let's talk about why you can't get a house. The reason you can't get a house is actually your neighbors. Yes, you heard me. Because it is so hard to continue building houses in the state of California because there have to be so many approvals, and that's not due to the governor. This has been the same thing for a while. people are going to say, I don't want my view ruined. San Francisco says that a lot. So do the people on the coast up and down California. I don't want my view of the ocean ruined. Okay, so build it right next to there and stare out over the water. Somebody else will build something taller. Or I don't want everything polluted. Yeah, that's nice that you have that, but at the same time, you're also complaining that there are not enough people working. When people can't move into an area, you then have a lot of places that don't have workers. But that also goes back to the immigration thing, which, again, that horse has been beaten to death by everybody. With questions, I might answer more. Now, going very local for a second to Oakland, and this is also a problem in San Francisco, in my opinion. Again, I will preface it, my opinion. The homeless people are not as much of a problem as everybody says they are. Yes, they are disgusting because they don't shower. They look horrible because they can't cut their hair or do anything. But again, have any of you tried living out in the woods for about a week or so, or just somewhere where you can't take a shower or any of that? You know, any of you taken the bus cross country? Remember how disgusting you are at the end of that? Now take that, multiply it by maybe a month, a few months, a year, and you'll understand how those people feel just in not being able to shave or wash themselves. They don't like it, but they're kind of used to it, and they just kind of go, because there's not really much else they can do. It costs money. Also, bodily functions. Hello? Do you know how any of that works? I mean, I understand that there's a group of men who don't want to wash their ass because they think it's gay, but that's a personal choice. That's not being forced into doing something where you have no choice. You know, logic. Now, we're going to get into some name dropping here. Ken Houston, here in Oakland, wants to destroy the homeless encampments without giving them a place to move to. So I ask you this, Ken. Okay, you're destroying the place that they're staying and putting them where? In jail, which, again, Oaklanders and Californians are going to have to pay for. You don't want them moved to homeless shelters. You very specifically said that. You're trying to get around that. So that means they go to somewhere else and mess that all up. Or they potentially get killed. I mean, if you want to become the leader of ICE in Oakland, just freaking say it, man. If you want to kill the homeless people, by all means, just come out and say you're in charge of ICE in the area, or you're in charge of the National Guard, to where they have carte blanche to shoot you. By all means, we'll sit there and not hate you any less. We might hate you more, but we can't hate you any less. And I'm pretty sure this may just be a theory, but you're probably behind the fact that, yes, Oakland got a bunch of money to take care of the homeless problem, and you're like, oh yes, let's form a committee. But we've had homeless problems for years, dude. We need to figure out the best way to solve it now. And we have to pay. Yes, I found the post, by the way. $200,000 to $245,000 a year to be in charge of taking care of leading an effort for the homeless problem. And you have to be qualified. Last time I checked, we have committees, we have everything else, but you convinced Barbara Lee, or Barbara Lee decided that they needed to have a committee to solve that. I'm not saying that she's a bad mayor. I'm saying that, why? Go out, take a look at the homeless people, see how many there are, find where they can move to, let them keep their stuff, because here in America, it's important to keep your stuff. That's why we want to get houses. That's why we can't live in apartments, because we have too much stuff. Remember George Carlin saying that? It's a thing. Now then, to get them someplace to live, could be somebody suggests an abandoned mall that we refurbish. I'm pretty sure we have plenty of storefronts and buildings that are abandoned that we could repurpose. I mean, I walked around here. There's places. We can do that. It's a thing. Then those people can do this thing called getting jobs. Because part of the thing to get a job is you have to have a place of residence. I mean, it's not like free cell phones are also issued. Oh, wait, they are. So you then have cell phones, so they can take calls from businesses that want to hire them. They have a place to live. They can also, be issued some type of clothes so they can look good for the interview. It's a thing. Oh my God. Holy crap. Woo. So all that can happen. But if you continue to stymie everything because you want it to all look nice and pretty, it's not going to work so well in the long run. I mean, Trump's kind of proving that for you in DC, my guy. Just saying, and you're supposed to be the son of Oakland or something. You're kind of coming off as a jackass. And not a good one. Just saying. But anyway, I mean, yeah, we could shove them all into the Tenderloin in San Francisco, but then they get shoved right back because they don't want them there, which means they'll probably start just living on the bridge. And we totally want that, don't we? They could just be living in little hovels on the Oakland Bay Bridge and on the Golden Gate Bridge. Totally great. Or we could shove them up to Marin County, and they'll totally not shove them back or anything. That won't be a problem to have them wander over to San Marco or something like that. Ooh. Or we could shove them closer to stuff like Dublin and all that. No, that totally wouldn't be a problem. Because then the great part is they're going to have to go to the hospital. The exact place where you don't want them to go. Because then they overload the hospital and everybody complains. And we ask ourselves this: we're paying taxes. If all the homeless people had jobs, would that also make them pay taxes as well if they were making enough? And then our taxes would go down? Because it's kind of a collective thing, because, taxation is socialism, as is paying for any of the things that we get. Like, it's group in, group out. Like, I don't know, police, firefighters, any of that. I'm just saying, it would be kind of a smart thing to do. But again, that's just my opinion. Again, these are all Tech Minion's opinions. I think that's enough for our first episode. So anybody has questions, like, comment, subscribe. I'll try and do these once a week. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Have fun.